What's going on, guys? This is going to be a Raid Shadow Legend video. This is my first one. I just recently built an unkillable composition that I haven't seen anybody else using, so I wanted to try to run through it real quick, show you guys what it looks like, and we'll go from there. So I'm using Septimus as my lead, Aothar, Venus, Maneater, and Painkeeper. Obviously, this is the budget unkillable. But it works really well, especially on Force Affinity, right? The max amount of damage I needed to do to get my chest, but we're going to do it anyway. So, A3 on Maneater, A3 on Painkeeper, let him smash, looking good. Aothar took a big hit that time. I need to drop his defense a little more, or increase hers a little more, would probably be even better. But I'm not like super in game gear. So in order for me to get these two speed where it needed to be, it was pretty difficult actually. So we should be good. So as you can see, Aothar has less HP than Painkeeper now. I'm gonna drop the burn on him. Let him do that. Do that. Now, Aothar, after I do this, should catch the stun. Yep. And now we can just auto and let them do their thing. The beauty of this is that Septimus, right here, does a really good job normally of keeping these buffs up, okay? So the more poisons you get on him, the better off you're gonna be, because Septimus, as you can see, will extend the length of these debuffs. Now, there's a few champions in the game that can do it as well. Not Septimus isn't the only champion that does this, but Septimus is the only champion out of those three champions that will put off a big hit. Um, his sword, whatever, I forget what it's called. It'll show it here in a moment. I want to say he's up for that right. Holy sword, 200k damage on that hit. It's a lot of damage. And I don't even have him maxed out, right? I need to increase his critical damage and his crit rate just a little bit. I think he's like 10 crit rate short of being 100%. So it would help if he had full crit rate. Um, Obviously you had to have you had with Septimus. It's pretty difficult. You had to have his accuracy really high. You have to have his crit rate really high at 100%, and the higher you can get his crit damage is the better. But you have to have him at the 181 to 189 speed. Venus is at 181 to 189. Then you have your slow champion running at about 123, 125. Maneater has to be at 250, right? 250 or up, like 250 to 255. The only way I've found it to work is if you get Painkeeper right at 240. I haven't got it to work at any speed around there, just 240. But as long as you get, you know, the speeds right, this composition will put a massive amount of damage. You can actually two key the boss with this composition. I haven't tried the other champions. I don't have Vizier. I wish I did have Vizier. Don't have Vizier, but I do have a maxed out Bulwark, which would be you would with Bulwark it would be a little different, right? Your slow champion would actually be Bulwark instead of Aothar. You would want Bulwark as your slow champion because the more times Bulwark gets hit, the more times he has a chance of increasing these debuffs, okay? So if Bulwark is the one taking the stun, he's getting hit more often, gives you a chance of increasing those buffs a little more. So then you can run like instead of Aothar, you'd run like Kale, which is a great poisoner. It kind of does the same thing as he does. Or you could even run Bulwark, Grave Chill, and Frozen Banshee, which would be really well. But in order to get the defense down, the defense and the weekend down, the the best champion besides Venus would be Rosin, which is a free champion. He's a fusible champion. Yes, I know he takes a while to fuse. It's not the easiest champion to fuse, but once you get him fused, you could use him in the spot of Venus, right? Um, he doesn't put down the poisons that Venus does. Like as you can see, Venus helps with keeping those poisons up, but he will put the defense down and the weaken on, which is really critical for maxing out this number right here, right? If you want to get the most damage out of these champions, you want to put down as much defense and weaken up. And as you can see, Venus does an excellent job of pretty much keeping those up. And then you've got Septimus every now and then increasing the duration of those debuffs, which helps you increase the damage. The more Septimus keeps those buffs up for you, the more damage you're going to get. This composition is really not based on how much damage each individual, champion can do, as it is keeping those poisons on the clan boss so that they do the damage. The longer those poisons are on him, the more damage you're going to get, right? So as you can see, they do a pretty good job of keeping them up. So we'll skip forward here and I'll show you guys what it ends up coming out to. Okay, so as you see, we have 33.33 million, right? Not even my best run. A little bit of tweaking, and this team would consistently put out 35 to 37. Would definitely be a two-key team if you get the crit damage up on Septimus, a little bit more damage out of them. So, now we will look at who you could use to do the same thing. Obviously, you could go with Kale as your poisoner. You'll get the same, it's kind of the same thing as Aothar out of his poisons. If you drop Kale, let's see, in order to keep the debuffs up, you could get Bulwark. Bulwark will do the same thing Septimus does, except he works really good if he's the one getting the stun, right? You want him the one that's running slow, catching the multi hits, all that, and it'll increase the duration of debuffs based on how many times he gets attacked. And if you don't have Venus, you can get Rosin, right? Rosin on his A2, defense down and weaken. That will help you out a lot because you'll get more damage out of your War Master and Giant Slayer, whatever you have going on. So that's my composition. Let me know what you think in the comments. I like it. I mean, it's unique. I haven't seen anybody else using those champions for an unkillable, and it works. This has been the Reaper 27. I'm out.